Okay guys, so I thought I'd just give you a quick update. We've had Tilly be rushed to the emergency vet today. Last night she was in a lot of pain, and to the point where she wouldn't let me examine her leg. And Tilly's a very, very tough dog. She doesn't complain very often, so when she does, you know it's something serious. Unfortunately, they didn't have the opportunity to give her any scans today. They were quite flat out. I was there also with Cutie Pie, and same scenario, they couldn't fit her in either. So they're both coming back later in the week. Tilly's been on very strong painkillers today, but she's coming back to do a CT scan to make sure that the cancer that she has, it hasn't spread down into her back leg somewhere. They suspect it's coming from her hip, and given that, you know, Tilly has had significant injuries through her when she was 1 year old, being run over by a bus. There's obviously all the arthritis and everything, so it just seems a little bit like it could be a bit more serious. So given her medical history and her current situation, we think that the CT scan is going to give us the best idea and the best picture of what's actually going on, and it will also allow us to see if there's any growth that is starting to form around there, which might be the cause of the pain. So she's been sent home with painkillers, and if she still wakes up in the morning and she's still uncomfortable, then we'll just take her straight back, admit her into hospital, and she'll just get stronger painkillers in hospital. But her scheduled CT scan is not for another 2 days. So fingers crossed the meds that we were sent home with are enough to take the pain away until we can figure out what's going on. But yeah, Tilly just doesn't complain. She's tough as nails, so it is a bit concerning. She cried, you know, most of the night while she was at the foot of our bed, and she just is in a lot of pain just laying there. So it's very concerning. It's definitely unlike Tilly, and so we know it's serious. If she's letting us know she's upset, then, you know, she doesn't take those things lightly. So we should know more after the CT scan. I am hoping that it may just be some muscle soreness from being a crazy 10-year-old cattle dog that still runs around like a headless chook. But I think deep down, I know it's something a little bit more serious than that, but let's not jump to any conclusions just yet. The plan is to try and keep her pain-free for the next 48 hours until we can get an official diagnosis and figure out the best way to help her out. So fingers crossed it all goes smooth, but we'll keep you in the loop as things develop. Righto guys, speak to you soon. Tilly, unfortunately, has not the best news. So the cancer where they removed her kidney has started to grow back. There's also a few other nodules that are appearing throughout. There's one in her lung, one in her abdomen, and one near her hip. So at this stage, the prognosis is not looking good for Tilly. There's not much more they can do. They said that they were quite surprised at how long she's lasted. So from diagnosis to now has been pretty much 12 months. And with Tilly's particular cancer, she said that they don't usually last this long. So she's a tough old girl, as we all know. But she did say that we're now at the late stage. So that, along with her spinal issues, and poor old girl, she's not in a good way. Hey, darling. Oh, you're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. So yeah, there's no real estimation on how long Tilly can potentially hold on for. She said, the doctor said that with these cancers, they don't grow in a linear fashion. The Palladia, which is the medication she's been on to keep it under control, has worked very well up until now, where we're starting to see it not be as effective, and they can grow exponentially. So the last scan she had was about 4 months ago, and now the original site where they removed her kidney, the growth has gone from 2.5 centimeters to 4 centimeters, but she's saying it's not going to keep growing at the same rate. Usually how these things work is they can explode and go through the roof. We went over all the different scenarios on how it could eventuate and how it could ultimately go for Tilly, and it all depends on where the tumours appear, where it gets to, what it affects, and what would be the symptoms and the consequence of that. So it's really just a case of keeping Tilly as comfortable as we can for as long as we can, up until the point where it's being comfortable is not achievable anymore. There is a couple of cases or a couple of scenarios that we talked about where they would cause acute death, which means she would just collapse out of nowhere. And even if we rush to the vet at that point, it's really just to rush her to the vet to give her an injection to end the pain. So that's not a very good scenario. That'd be quite a traumatic experience for her. And that scenario would be like that scenario would be if the cancer caused a bit of a clot, or one of the nodules was into the bloodstream and it dislodges, and then can go into the brain or to the lungs or wherever it might go, and those scenarios are usually very sudden and without warning. Then there's also a few other things that are degrading, and that is her left kidney is showing signs of fatigue and struggling to maintain efficiency now that the right kidney's gone. And so that scenario would end in, or would result in, excess fluid buildup, urinating away all the hydration and proteins, and not allowing Tilly to absorb all those, and really gradual decline in overall health and demeanor and energy levels. It can be quite uncomfortable for her. You can get a lot of fluid buildup in the abdomen, which can be quite uncomfortable. So none of these options sounded like any of them were better than the other. Neither of them were very good. So yeah, we're towards we're at the end of the road with Tilly. Now, Tilly's got to be the toughest dog we've got at the farm, and being a cattle dog, it's not surprising that she's exceeded their expectations as far as life expectancy from the diagnosis. But they did always say that it's inevitable. They can't cure it. They don't know of a cure. It's never been cured, so it will ultimately be the thing that gets her in the end. Hey, darling. Yeah. We're at the point where they are hesitant to give any real life expectancy timelines. It's possible, but they don't really expect that she's going to make it to Christmas. Yeah, it was a tough vet visit, that one. It's definitely very it's very difficult to hear, even though or you expect to hear it at some point when they've prepped you for it the whole time as soon as she was diagnosed. But it's always very challenging to deal with. I can't imagine having to have those conversations as part of your day-to-day job. It can't be nice. Yeah, see, the hard part about this one is the fact that she's got her issues with her back, and so she still needs to be kept quiet and restricted movement. And so I'm struggling to see form a picture in my head of what the best possible remaining part of her life we can give her. The only thing that I can see that we can give her is just constant love and affection, and lots of cuddles, and she gets it all the time anyway. But really, we can't let her run around. We can't let her go and do the things that she wants to do. Otherwise, she's just gonna be in a lot more pain. And so she's on 3 different medications for pain relief. Just have to monitor those closely, because at the point where they're no longer effective is pretty much going to be the point where we'll need to make the decision. It's at that point where you'd be doing her a disservice to hold on to her any longer. It's always a very, very difficult place to be as far as a pet owner is concerned. You want to hold on to them for as long as you can, but there's a point where you have to let go of what you want and come to terms with what's best for them. I'd love to let her chase the quad bike again and attack the tyres, but she'll just aggravate her back and be sitting there in more pain. I'd love to get a Swiss ball out and let her go nuts, but that's what I mean. It's just a really difficult place to be in. All the things that you want them to live and experience that last time, Well, I don't think there's going to be many more dogs that I come across that I'm going to see I feel live up to Tilly's toughness. She's got that in spades, there's no question about that. Well, there's no real way to spin a positive side to this conversation, so apologies about that. You know, the positive side of it, or the only positive way to look at it, is the quality of life that Tilly's had at the farm. You know, she lived and loved every bit of it. She gave it her all every single time, and you know, there are those times of happiness that you hold on to and remember that she's had a good run. Alright, guys. Time to go home and let everyone give her a nice big cuddle. Maybe stop into the butcher on the way home and get her a nice big steak for dinner. Chat to you soon.